Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And good morning, MMJHL fans. Welcome back to the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast. It's a return here in 2025 for the first time for Episode 15, Season 2. I'm your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. Our podcast, as always, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, make cannon fasteners and tools, Terrico, and goaltenders. We got a great show in store for you all today. We got two guests joining the show, as you saw on the promo screen at the start of this episode. Peyton Bateman, forward of the Stonewall Jets, is going to be joining us here on this edition of the MMJHL Podcast in a pre-recorded interview. Same with Dillon Smith, head coach of the Charleswood Hawks. We'll take a look real quick here in terms of how the first weekend of action back went down in the league. As for the Fort Garry Twins, they remain hot. 7 wins in a row, a decisive 4-0 victory over the St. Patel Junior Victorias. The St. James Junior Canucks continue to roll as well, as they had 2 huge wins, not only beating the Charleswood Hawks on Sunday, as you see there, but also getting a huge win over the Transcone Railer Express in overtime on Friday. Here's how the whole weekend of the start back up in the MMJHL season went on the first weekend of January, last weekend, as it started off with that OT victory for the Charleswood Hawks, ended off with an OT victory for the River East Royal Knights. This is the December Players of the Year will announce this right now. Congratulations to Tristan Arneson, Rory Neal, Alex Pauls, and Logan Maroney on taking it home. We're going to have standings as well as stats, leaders, updates for you all coming up in this episode, as well as some talk about trade deadline, as the deadline's actually coming up very soon. Tomorrow is the trade deadline, January 10th here in the MMJHL. So we'll be interested to see if any more teams are going to be active and are going to make moves in the next 24 to 48 hours here. But as for us, we're going to be kind of going through every trade so far, how it's the big ones at least, as well as kind of talking about who's winners, who's the losers here from trade deadline so far. But with all that out of the way, oh, by the way, we're also going to be showing you all highlights in this episode. We got a jam-packed lineup for today's episode in terms of the content we have, and we'll start it off now with Peyton Bateman, number 44 of the Stonewall Jets, running this edition of the MMJHL podcast here on G Show Productions, your home for Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League coverage here in the province. It's Peyton Bateman, number 44, star forward of the Stonewall Jets, running this edition of the MMJHL podcast. Peyton, it's great to have you on the show. It's your 3rd season in the MMJHL. You still got another one after this one next season. What's it been like so far this year being a part of this Stonewall Jets squad?
Yeah, no, first, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's been good. We got a good group. We've kind of been building with this crew for a while since my first year. Pretty heavy 04s. Yeah, it's been lots of fun. It's a good crew. Struggle a little bit with consistency, but honestly, it's just a great group of guys and like playing hockey.
At this point, Stonewall in a playoff spot in seventh place right now. Now, there's still the remainder of the season here in 2025 to be played, but this team's in a good position to at least make it at this point, looking at the projections. The first 2 years, as you know, this team failed to make it. So, how big has that been for this group, knowing that it hasn't been maybe the biggest step you were intending to take, but a step taken nonetheless?
Yeah, no, I'd say like for my first year, we had a tough year and then took a big leap last year. We were right in the mix. I think we finished 500 and we're 1 point outside the playoffs. And then this year, kind of taking another step forward. I know we're kind of not where we want to be right now, and we've kind of shown glimpses that we can go higher. And we got a good group. But yeah, it's we all want to play playoff hockey. We got a good group, and yeah, it's fun and excited to kind of see this group take that next step.
Yeah, and of course, last year this team came within like 2 points of just missing out, got off to quite a slow start, but really picked it up as the season went along. A much worse record in the first year with the squad. So, just given those experiences, how would you say that has kind of built you in this group of players that have gone through this, that are still on this year's team? How huge, I guess, those experiences have kind of been in a way?
Yeah, no, it has been big. First year, kind of, and a lot of guys went through that first year. I don't think we had double digit wins. So it kind of built a lot of resiliency through our group, which is nice to see. And then, yeah, last year, I think we were 0-7-1 to start out the year. And I think it just shows there's not a lot of quit in our group. And the second half of our season, I think, I don't know the exact record, but we were really red hot and came really close, which it sucks. It was a really tight league last year. And yeah, this year just kind of kept pushing forward and continually improving, which really proud of our group. And yeah, it's really tight league. Kind of anybody can beat anybody on a given day, so it's exciting.
Yeah, and of course, as mentioned, this being your third year in the season now, putting up a season so far with 39 points in 24 games played, you end up putting up an impressive 75 points last year, being among the top leaders in this league. Over a point per game in every single season so far in your career. So, given that one of the best talents in this league, how do you end up, on the Stonewall Jets a few seasons ago?
Yeah, so played RHA kind of in my high school years there, and then kind of ended up just kind of going the school route. And then I always grew up in Stonewall. I'm a hometown kid, so that's kind of where my MM rights were, and got to play hockey with a lot of guys who I hadn't before, and then go to school at Asper there. So MM's a great league kind of for that. You want to keep playing, but go to school, so it's kind of perfect scenario for that.
No, for sure, and gives you a lot more flexibility compared to, some other junior leagues that are at this high of a level. But given that you're, actually from Stonewall, being able to carry through your junior career so far with your hometown team, how much pride does that truly give you personally to know that, you probably be finishing off your playing days, your competitive playing days, at least here in Stonewall?
Yeah, no, it's kind of cool to kind of circle back to where you started a little bit, like growing up playing there, and then kind of going off doing my own thing with RHA and that stuff, and then kind of coming full circle. It's super cool, like playing in the hometown, like parents come to every game again. And then obviously the guys there, like I've known them, I've played hockey with them growing up, and then just being in town again, smaller towns, so kind of everyone's around. So it's cool. Yeah, it's a cool feeling.
Right. And of course, many players from the Stonewall area on this year's team, and a group that's going to be back at home in Stonewall tomorrow to face off against the Transcon Railer Express. I guess tonight, given that this episode is airing on this Thursday morning. But yeah, this Stonewall team, he kind of slid into the Christmas break with a few losses against teams like St. Vital, Fort Garry, as well as Charleswood, starting off 2025 with the split last weekend, a 5-1 win against River East and a 7-4 loss against the Raiders. At this point in the year, just kind of give me the assessment, I guess, of where this group is feeling they're at, the things this group's looking to improve on moving forward.
Yeah, no, I think we've shown like we can beat anybody kind of on a given night. We beat some of the top teams like the Vicks and stuff. Just the one thing we're still kind of trying to figure out is consistency. We got a lot of belief in our group that we can get it done. We just kind of need to do that on every single given night, and I think that's going to come just with a little bit more experience.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this group not being able to bring in, the players from the trade from the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, as this team was looking to bring in Naked Branson, but he was dealt to St. James in a deal most recently. You guys end up getting four players back from there. This Stonewall team has made a few trades so far this year. What's that been like getting to know these new players coming into this group that's, established, like you've been, talking about throughout this interview?
Yeah, no, it's been good. We got a good core there, and we've got to meet a lot of new faces and meet lots of people, which is it's great. All the guys we've kind of got in have been really good. They want to be here, and yeah, they've been great. They've been added to the team, fitting in nicely, and really good. Just meeting them and getting them involved.
Well, for the players you're familiar playing with, you've had a chance to play on a line this season with players like Carson King, Alex Kaczorowski. All three of you were top three on this team in points. What's that been like? No matter who you've been playing with, getting a chance to play with this high-end skill that's in this Stonewall Jets top six, specifically at the forward group.
Yeah, it's been great. Like Kinger and Kaz are great players. Had the privilege of playing them since I was 10 years old, so a fair amount of chemistry there. And yeah, they're super good players and they're extremely easy to play with. And we're a pretty skilled team, so it doesn't really matter who you play with. So we kind of have that nice luxury. But yeah, it's been great. It's been those two are really honestly exceptional.
Yeah, and it's great when you're able to have that flexibility, like you said, right? When you're able to try different combinations throughout that top of the lineup in the forward group, and you boys, your top guns as well as everyone is going to be, I guess, need to be locked in for this game coming up tonight against the Transcon Railer Express coming up tomorrow. Since we're doing this interview the
Yeah.
night before this podcast, but Transcona this season, number one team in the league so far. You guys have beat them once in OT, but the last two times they've had your number. Haven't played them since December 1st, of course, coming out of the break, having a few games under this team's belt, having the game in Stonewall as well. How fired up are the boys for this one to get things underway?
Yeah, no, these games against Transcona are they're always fun. And we know from them, hey, they're number one right now. We want to take down number one. They work really hard, well coached, work really well as a team, but we're confident. We know going in, if we're on our game, we can beat anybody. But yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, and of course, Stonewall gonna be getting the day off on the Friday and then taking on the St. Boniface Riels on Sunday afternoon. But we'll end off with this, Peyton. I mean, you talked about resiliency early on in this interview, and given where this team is in the standings, obviously looking for some improvement, going up against the number one team in the league, given the history going back to this, that this most of this group has been through. How huge do you feel like it's gonna, be for this team this season, being able to lead on that experience, given that this team is truly in a fight for a playoff spot going down to the wire here, probably again this season?
Yeah, I think it's big to just kind of show how far we've come from like year one to now. Like there's a lot of the same guys in that locker room who went through that experience, especially last year. Like our backs were against the wall since probably January, and we played really good hockey. We played desperate hockey, and that's kind of just the message in our room right now is we need to keep that mindset and keep going. And I think especially last year, how we really fought for like came up short, but we
Yeah.
really worked for that, and we're gonna do the exact same thing this year.
Well, excited to see how it pans out for this team this season. Excited to check out this team as well tomorrow night at Stonewall as this team welcomes in the Transcona Railer Express. Stonewall coming in with a 12-14-2 record, Transcona with a 24-4 record. Leading scorer of the Stonewall Jets, Peyton Bateman, joining this edition of the MMJHL Podcast. Peyton, it was a pleasure getting to talk to you, and best of luck moving forward this season to you and the rest of the boys.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
And Peyton Bateman, number 44 of the Stonewall Jets, joining this edition of the MMJHL podcast. For him and his group, going to be taking on the Transcon Railer Express tonight. As mentioned, we'll take a look at, of course, the standings heading in to this weekend's action. The Stonewall Jets currently in 7th place with 26 points, only a point up over the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, while the Transcon Railer Express, losing 2 in a row to start off 2025, still find themselves in 1st place, looking to extend that advantage that they have in the standings with a potential win tonight over the Stonewall Jets. Puck drops at 8 p.m. Central Time. Coverage can be seen on gshow Productions on gshow.ca, as we'll have that game alive for you all. There's also another game happening tonight. St. Vital at home to take on the River East Royal Knights. 7:30 p.m. puck drop there at St. Vital Centennial Arena. We're going to throw it to our next interview soon here. But what we're going to do first off is show you all some highlights from our first MMJHL game day broadcast of this new year in 2025. Last Friday, we were at Seven Oaks to see a matchup between the Raiders Junior Hockey Club and the St. Boniface Riels. And in what was a back and forth third period, it started off with some magic from one player in particular, Nathan Lenoski. And just take a look at how this game went down right now. Welcome into the return of Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League game day here on the network, your home for MMJHL Hockey on G-Show Productions. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator, Graham Forsyth. This broadcast is always brought to you by McKen Fasteners and Tools, Goaltenders, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and Terraco. Alex, one touch of this to Zachary. Looking to skate this up through the neutral zone and now stripped away by Koshier. He shoots, but turned aside by number 30 and Dominico. As the Raiders get this to Lukowski, mates some move, sidesteps, Hepner in, tight, scores! Add that to the highlight reel for number 25. As a little shimmy shake on who's been so solid for the Riels, and Hepner, big hit laid on there right after the face-off. Got it to McNaughton as McNaughton just turned aside by Banera. The Riels looking to control this high up on the zone, but it's Lenowski looking to get some speed again, regroups on this puck, scores again! Number 25 lights the lamp for a second time. As the straw won by the Riels. Trying to break in with some speed, it's Johnson. A little shimmy shake before getting it to Davis, tic-tac-toe, and turned aside by Banera. The Riels with a really good attack. Continues to skate with it. Doesn't see any better options right now than for himself to hold on to it. Finally does, drops it to Wilson, who sends that off the boards down low to Cromie. Back up top to Wilson. His shot unable to get through. Loose puck there, though, scores! And it's the Nathan Lenoski show here tonight as number 25 bats it home for his hat-trick goal to make it 3-0. Tries going backdoor back to D'Souza, but couldn't fire to number 16. As now Reeve Suka takes some punishment along the boards. They're off of a hit from Wilson. As 25 slows up a bit, drops it back, and goes off for a change. As Reeve Suka plays it to Connor Davis, his shot off of that post. Nothing to do but send it in deep. As the Riels, turnover, costly one, but somehow making the save was Dominico on Larenko. From 22 in Enerson, or Yorchenko's I should say, not Larenko. His shot was tipped and turned aside there. Hard save made by Dominico. Raiders continue to work at it. Down low, in front, gets to the low slot. Yorchenko turned aside. Huge save by number 30 and Dominico. As in the corner, this remains. Now onto the stick of number 6 and Yorchenko. Again, try getting that back down low, but couldn't send all the way out. The Raiders with a bit of trouble in front of their own net as this picked up by the Riels, but can't connect at the point there with that pass. As Enerson dumps a Riel into the boards, or into the Riel's bench, as now we got some chaos ensuing there. Gets this down low and successfully to McNaughton now, who gets tied up near the end boards by Larveld. Now Connor Davis getting taken out into the boards. No call here coming up on the play, though, as Davis interfered with quite blatantly there. And lays a hit on Larveld for some revenge in the corner. So now it's a 3-on-2 developing the other way for the Raiders. Drop back to Ashton Henry. Drops this. Henry gets it back. Tic-tac-toe can't be connected on. As now a bit of a miss pass. Not quite strong enough to get there. Forces a turnover. Van Dyne's tic-tac-toe. Somehow Banera sprawls out to make that save out in front. No goals so far in this game for the Riels. One of the most high-powered offensive teams in the MMJHL has been stymied here tonight by, well, not anymore. A huge snipe there by Davis past Banera. So the Raiders try to make their way towards the Riels net. Picked up off the boards by Cole Kennedy. He fires, tipped wide of the net. Enerson, oh, sneaky play. Goes off the back of Dominico and into the net. So they look to will their way back into this one. A bit of maybe an unlucky break. Oh, here's a bit of beautiness here from McNaughton as he puts this into the back of the net, sneaks this past Banera to Zook. Decides to go back to number 23 and Wilson, who puts a nice little outside move on a Riel player and continues on with it. Wilson to the net, rebound there, oh, scores! The Riels have their net pulled. It's played to McNaughton, to Hepner, tries to play that to the middle. Picked up by McNaughton, sneakily his shot off of the mask. Rebound there, Riels banging away at it. Banera able to keep it out into the low slot, turning, fire, rebound, scores! Trying to saucer it into the slot, that unable to connect. The Raiders get this out, thrust to Lenoski, and that's his 4th of the game, capping off what's going to be a night to remember in the career of Nathan Lenoski. Here in this game in particular, in the 2024-2025 MMJHL season. His 4th point of the night to start the Raiders off officially now at this point, I'd say, on the right foot, as they'll come away with this victory tonight to make it 10 wins on the season.
And there you have it. The Raiders Junior Hockey Club starting off this season very strong. Not the season in general, I guess, but 2025, as they picked up 2 wins, also beating the Stonewall Jets 7-4 on Sunday. As for the standings, we'll take a look at them again. The Raiders, with those 2 wins, have closed the gap in the standings between them and the Stonewall Jets. Huge win against Stonewall, too, given that context that the Raiders were able to get those huge 2 points against them. As for the power rankings here, updated, quite a jump from the St. James Junior Canucks. They haven't lost much as of late. They come away with wins against the top 2 teams in the MMJHL. The Riels, Railers, Hawks, all with losses on the weekend for them this past weekend. The Hawks, of course, losing to the Canucks. So, yeah, the Canucks for now One of the hottest teams in the league, but the hottest being the Fort Garry Twins. They hold their spot at number one on the power rankings. The St. Vital Junior Victorias, 0-2 weekend for them, bumps them down a spot. For the Raiders, they move up a spot, given that they go 2-0 on a 3-game winning streak, as well as they ended 2024 off very strong with a victory against the St. James Junior Canucks. Could that have been the turning point in the season for the Raiders, for them to get going once again? It certainly could be a possibility, given how strong they started off 2025. The Knights, with a win against the Twisters, move up a spot in the power rankings. The Jets remain in 8th. And these power rankings brought to you by Make-Hand Fasteners and Tools, your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. We'll take a look at some stats leaders here before we get into our next interview. Dean Gorchinski leading the way with 56 points. Carter Halamandaris, huge year for the veteran forward so far. Now tied second in the league with points with Tyler Rubini. Goaltender for the Twins too, Alex Paul's been very exceptional so far this season. He's actually now up to 13 wins. He's 13-2-1 on the season. Has shutouts in there as well, right? Leading the league in that. So that's amazing to see that from Alex Paul so far this year. Rubini and Dean Gorchinski still leading the way in assists. For Dean, and assists for Tyler in goals, as you can see there with 24. Full stats can be seen on mmjhl.ca, the league's official website. One of the best teams in the league so far this year has been the Charleswood Hawks, and they got some new faces, I guess. Not really a new face. A coach that's been on this squad for the past few years as an assistant, now taking over as head coach. A former Charleswood Hawk himself, a former champion, former captain of the storied franchise. Dillon Smith joining the show next year on the MMJHL podcast to talk about his history leading up to getting this head coaching role, as well as talking about this year's Hawks team and just kind of looking forward and looking back on the season that's been so far for Charleswood here on the MMJHL podcast on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. Stick around as Dillon Smith joins the show next after this commercial break. Make-Hand Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Make-Hand Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Make-Hand Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Dillon Smith, head coach of the Charleswood Hawks, joining this edition of the MMJHL podcast. Dillon, the team got back in the swing of things this past weekend, playing against the St. James Junior Canucks most recently, losing in a close one, but overall this season, this team's sitting tied for second place right now. What's it been like, you taking over this year's head coach and coaching this group of Hawks this season?
It's been awesome. It's been quite the privilege working with some awesome staff supporting me. Start of our year has been fantastic. Our group of players has been very welcoming to some new things that we wanted to instill in them early on. It's just been a very, very exciting experience for myself.
Yeah, and speaking of your coaching staff, you guys added my uncle to it most recently, and Marc Boulanger as video coach. But overall, this coaching staff has a lot of good experience on it. Hunter Plaza on the goaltending side, he's played in this league, won a championship with the Stonewall Jets, of course. You have a wealth of championship experience as well. So putting it all together, I mean, what's this been like truly getting to work with the staff specifically this year on this year's squad?
Yeah, I think when you look at our group, we have experience in different levels, right? We have experience at lots of experience in the MM especially, but we have a little bit of MJ experience in Zinger doing his thing there.
Right.
And then having the opportunity to play at the college level and pulling things from there as a player and instilling it into my coaching style. It's been very good. Like we can share our experience with our players and be brutally honest of what we think can work and may not work, and they've been real receptive to it.
Well, for yourself, you spoke about MMJHL experience. You have plenty of that. You played 4 years with Charleswood from 2009 to 2012, was a captain in many of those seasons for that team. Won 4 championships in a row, a part of the last team to win a championship for this Charleswood squad. You went to Minot State afterwards to play university hockey, finished off with Gladstone and the THHL. But yeah, speak about your time with the Hawks. Winning championships and being a part of that history.
Yeah, I think like when I first came in as a 17-year-old, I was welcomed with open arms. It's kind of been a full circle growing up. The Winnipeg Jets weren't really a thing yet. So going Derek Coy and watching the Charlotte Hawks as a young kid with my brother and my dad was something that we like to do. And then as you kind of move on through the years, you get the opportunity to put on that Hawks jersey, and nothing but great experiences, nothing but great things to say about Wayne Discower, the late Wayne Discower, and Reg running the things, and then our coaches having the knowledge through their hockey experiences as well. So I've tried to look back on what had or hadn't worked during those times, and just do what I think is best from those experiences.
No, for sure. And I mean, able to be a part of a team and buying into that and coming away with 4 championships at that as a Charleswood Hawk. But, you move on to university yeah, college hockey at that level. You play hockey afterwards after that. And then all these years later, a few years ago, you end up on Charleswood staff as an assistant coach with Will Kinsman. Speak about that experience, getting to be accustomed with this group again and getting to, I guess, learn some new things from a coach like Will, getting to coach with them.
Yeah, it was. I have nothing to say about great things to say about Will. He's still on our staff as our assistant GM, so a little bit different role, but we're on the phone together just about every day. But just going back through our times playing together in Minot, and building that relationship, and then years ago he asked me to hop on his coaching staff at the high school level, and at the beginning I wasn't too sure I wanted to take it on, but it was such a great opportunity. And then the past 3 years working under Will, he taught me so much about how much work needs to be put in. You get out of this what you put into it, and he taught me a lot about, hey, like if we want to do things well, we have to do them very well. So nothing but great experiences with Will. And then just kind of tailoring off what you asked or said about knowing some of the players, like it was a pretty easy transition. We knew quite a few guys coming back, and having the opportunity to know some of the younger guys through our prospects tournament. It was just taking on that lead role in a more formal setting, I guess.
Yeah, and of course, the team looking pretty good under your coaching so far this year at 27-1 so far. But how would you describe yourself as a coach, Dillon, given all the experiences you've had throughout the year as a player, as a coach for a few years leading up to, getting the head coaching position now with Charleswood? Yeah, how you describe your coaching style, your philosophy?
I think my philosophy, it's firm but fair. I understand that there's the reason these guys are in this league, right? Same as when I was going to school. I understand that school for a lot, especially for a lot of our guys, is a priority. So I try to be understanding with what's going on away from the rink, but want to instill good life lessons in our guys that once you commit to something in Charleswood, you see it all the way through. We have a great opportunity as well as there's a lot of other teams to compete for a championship. So I think my style is firm but fair in regards to what our league is about.
Yeah, and I think that's a totally fair expectation, right? If you want to be on, the team that these guys are playing on, which is Charleswood, that comes with the expectation of showing up, one to put in the work, as best as they can. But yeah, last time Charleswood won a championship was back in 2011, 2012 when you were playing. All these years later, how cool, I guess, is this opportunity? Obviously, the processes in terms of building towards the playoffs and the hopes is of getting there, but it's never a certain thing, as you may know. But yeah, the cool opportunity that this group potentially has to go all in this season and go for a championship, and you being a part of it and looking back at that, I guess, how cool does it sound, putting that into perspective?
Yeah, I think it's real exciting to see the potential our group had or has, sorry. Um, just seeing the similarities to what I had as a player and to what our group has. We put in some new things this year, and the compete level of our guys is second to none. We have a very hardworking group, and they've been rewarded with it. It's been a pleasure coaching all these guys so far, and hopefully we're just getting started here.
Yeah, this group has been able to put the puck in the back of the net quite a bit so far this season. Also been doing a good job of defending in its own end. How would you, I guess, describe the makeup of this year's team? I've heard it from Will that this is a team this year that had a lot of speed, a lot of skill. We've seen that kind of unfold. Had a chance to talk to Matt Carlson as well. He talked about speed being a huge part of this team's game, as well as just the buy-in before games, having that high energy. I guess, yeah, how would you describe this year's Charleswood team in terms of the playing style, how this team wants to play?
Yeah, I think we identified early on our team strength is our speed and our work ethic, and that goes into our practices as well. We have some very dynamic skaters on our team, and we want to push the pace. We don't want to sit back and wait. If we have opportunities to attack, we want to attack, but for the right reasons. So in years past, maybe we looked at our skill level and leaned on that a little bit, but not necessarily the case this year. Yeah, we have some skilled guys that can make some skilled plays, but at the end of the day, everyone's expected to play top speed and compete against whoever we're playing against.
Yeah, and this team competing hard, to start off 2025, winning 5-4 in overtime last Thursday against St. Vital, and just falling short against the St. James Junior Canucks 3-2 on Sunday. Yeah, this past weekend, heading into, I guess, this upcoming weekend against the Fort Garry Twins. How are you liking where, I guess, your group is at to start off 2025?
Yeah, it's been good. I think everyone kind of gets out of the break. Guys go on trips or whatever the case may be. You're just trying to get back into the routine. Guys are getting back into their classes or university classes. So you kind of go from having this a little bit of a lull to, hey, we're back right into it. So I like right where we're at. We had a real nice practice last night, and the boys were all excited to get back together for our first true practice after the break. And yeah, real happy with our group right now.
Yeah, and this group getting a chance to go up against the Fort Garry Twins, where both these teams identical records in the standings so far at 27-1. It's going to be the fourth meeting of the season. Last time this team played this Fort Garry Twins team, it was a hard fought comeback win to win in shootout 4-3. Expecting much the same in terms of how intense this matchup should be, given how these two teams are tied for second in the standings. The expectation, what is it against this Fort Garry Twins team coming up Friday?
I think both sides know it. It's always meaningful game. A lot of our players, they know one another. They grew up with one another, and the fact that both teams they're off to a real good start, it just makes it that much more exciting. All four games, minus the one we had at home, they've been competitive. Both teams have some real strong forwards and arguably the two best goalies going head to head at it. So we know our guys already, and it'll be a very exciting one on Friday at Iroquois.
Oh, it should be a spectacular matchup. We're going to have a chance to be on air for that one, as it'll be an MMJHL game day broadcast. Charleswood also going to be finishing off their weekend on Sunday against the River East Royal Knights at Terry Sawchuk. Their head coach, first-year head coach in this league, and Dillon Smith, joining this edition of the Podcast. Dillon, will see you around at the rink for sure on Friday. Best of luck to you and the team this weekend and the rest of the way this year.
Well, thank you for having me. We appreciate everything you're doing for not only for the league, but for the players as well as getting our names out there.
And Dillon Smith, head coach of the Charleswood Hawks, joining this edition of the MMJHL Podcast here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. He mentioned, two of arguably the best goaltenders in the MMJHL going at it here on this Friday tomorrow, I guess, since this is Thursday. But yeah, he wasn't lying, as Keegan Gordon set to make another start this year. He's 16-6, leads the MMJHL in wins. As for Alex Pauls, he's the shutout and save percentage leader in the league, and only 3 wins behind Keegan for that league lead. So it should be quite a goaltending duo, a goaltending battle. One of the best that we're going to get here on G-Show Productions all season long, as we'll be live at Eric Hoy Arena for MMJHL Game Day tomorrow to broadcast that one. As for the goals leaders, as we've updated our stats here, remains the same with Rubini, of course, 24 goals. Dean Gorchinski actually has 41 assists. If we take a look at the point leaders, it's actually Carter Halamandaris who is up on Tyler Rubini in points with 2 more than him. And yeah, the goaltending leaders staying the same. They're adding on one more win for Michael O'Sullivan, as we forgot to do so there. So yeah, those are the stats leaders heading into this week, another week of MMJHL hockey. Doubleheader tonight, as well as plenty of action coming up this weekend. But as for us, trade deadline, we're going to get into that coming up next, as the deadline is tomorrow. A recent move has been made as well that was reported on January 7th that just got put into the MM's website. So we're going to talk about that move and plenty more regarding trade deadline coming up next on the MMJHL Podcast here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. But before we do that, speaking of the St. Boniface Riels, we're going to be showing you their highlights against the Railer Express, as those two teams faced off against each other in what was a high-intensity affair between the two squads. Take a look.
And welcome into another edition of Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League Game Day here on your home for MMJHL Hockey in Manitoba on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator for this afternoon's action. That's played across to Bucknet early on for the Riels, as Bucknet makes his way up, gets stood up there, cut off at the line by number 5 for this Railer Express team in Jace Lawkins. That shot, Vandenbush, goes from low to high to Lambert. Short little pass over to McNaughton. Protects this puck. The slick little deke and plays this into the skates. A Davis down low, tic-tac-toe, Suka denied by Delarone as the net off. Brzezinski receives this cross-ice pass, leaves a short little drop for Reeves Sukat, who makes his way down below the goal line. Penalty coming up here. Sukat draws it. But the Railers still unable to get this loose. They do now, as it's picked up by Vandenbush. Headmans this up to Larkins. Larkins just before the blue line. He takes a tumble, spun around, and there's another tripping penalty, or another penalty coming up for this Riels team. To Trey Sullen. Sullen settles it down back up to the point to Campbell. Campbell gets it back from, I believe, Todoruk over to Sullen. Sullen into the middle. His shot turned aside by O'Sullivan. Rebound cleared away by the Riels. Try sending that across, but can't make it through that blocked up lane by the Riels as it's on to Sukat's stick. Sukat cuts in, maneuvers, gets it to McNaughton. Almost a beautiful finish on that give and go to St. Laurent, who sends that in deep. O'Sullivan out to play it down that left side. Ends up onto the stick of McNaughton, who remains on the ice. Over to Davis. Almost makes it past Maroney Delarone, and it does. Now Brzezinski able to chip it out. He goes. He has Cole Davis with him. But Todoruk able to cut that pass off. Puck gets passed. Going back door. Trying to. The Riels on that one. It's absolute mayhem there on the play. Coming in hard. Trying to on Austin Campbell. Campbell moves this puck away quickly though. But turned over. Van Dyne's trying to drag in. Loose puck to Johnson. Oh, just turned aside there by Delarone in tight. with 5:35 remaining here in the second period of action. Another turnover onto the stick of Trott. Left it for McNaughton. McNaughton trying to dangle in, but good defensive effort there on that stick from Nathan Turner. And thus Riel's forecheck as well coming to life. Let's see if the Railers can as well. Shot scores! As the Riels look to go, Bachnet running out along the boards. As Shadanoff chips it past, has a man with him as well, and Johnson fires to Johnson, but turned aside by O'Sullivan. Score is currently tied at 1 apiece. It's into the slot early on for the Riels. Stone cold there was McNaughton. Picked up by this Riels squad. And now Lambert, nice little move to the backhand and streaks in. Passes to Suket. Over to Van Dynes. His shot turned aside by Dillon. Huge save there from the Rook. 3-on-2 developing the other way. The Railer Express to Van Bush. His shot turned aside. Shadanoff on the rebound, but couldn't get it past. Looked like they had a chance to control the puck well at the start of it, but once the Railers started clearing that puck out, a Railer Express player's helmet comes off, and now he takes a tumble to the ice as well. Trying to eat it along the boards, but can't. The Riels get possession of it back. Held in by the skate of Bachnet, now over to McNaughton, sprawling out to make that save. Sage Delarone, number 29's been big time this afternoon. There's a bit too much for his right shoulder to handle. It trickled up over top of it and behind, and speak of the devil, maybe an announcer's curse. This time it'll be McNaughton who wins it again. Played up to Bachnet, whips it across to Lambert. Lambert now across to Suket. His shot blocked. Suket again turned aside, this time by Delarone. The Riels trying to make their move to the net. Tied up in the corner, picked up by Vandenbush. Now kicks this out to Trey Sullen. Sullen tries to drop this for Brzezinski with an open net. Brzezinski puts this away for the Riels. And for the Railer Express, of course, a game that was frustrating for them this afternoon as they had their chances, but just couldn't quite find a way to make things easy for themselves against a very well coached, very good St. Boniface Riel squad, as things chippy until the very end here.
McKenna Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, McKenna Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, McKenna Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Welcome back into the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast, everybody. We hope you enjoyed those highlights of the Riels versus Railer Express, as well as earlier on the Riels versus the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. All of those games can be seen along with all of our MMJHL game day streams up to date. They can all be seen on our YouTube channel on gshow Productions. All are available now as well on our website at gshow.ca. But yeah, we're going to be finishing off here talking about trade deadline in the MMJHL. Before we do that, though, just want to show you all once again the December Players of the Month. Congratulations to Tristan Arneson on winning Player of the Month, his first award of the year in terms of the monthly awards. Rory Neal's been no stranger to the Defenseman of the Month award. He's now won that all 3 times so far this year, winning his third straight recognition in December. As for Alex Paul's back-to-back Goaltender of the Month awards for him, and Logan Maroney continues the trend of Transcon Railer Express goaltenders winning Rookie of the Month. It's his first of the season. All awards
winners from month to month can be seen on mmjhl.ca, so be sure to go check that out if you're interested. As for this upcoming week of action in the MMJHL, doubleheader tonight, as mentioned, tripleheader tomorrow, and then all 10 teams will be back in action on Sunday here in the league. We'll have 3 MMJHL live streams for you all, game day live streams, tonight in Stonewall, tomorrow in Eric Coy, as well as on Sunday afternoon in Seven Oaks Arena. But yeah, time to get into it. Trade deadline, as we see here, it's January 10th, so tomorrow. This really crept up. Honestly, I had it in my head that the trade deadline was a bit further on, but I remember now I got it confirmed with one of the board members in this league that it is, in fact, tomorrow on January 10th. And yeah, we're not going to be able to show you every single move that's been made from the start of this season up until now, but we're going to show you the big ones here. So yeah, the most recent trade being made by the Stonewall Jets, trading over the rights of Brody Melstead to the St. Boniface Riels, as well as the Riels sending over a player in Dillon Vitelli and a second player going to be named before on February 15th here in 2025. There's no other conditions on this trade, as you can see here. The Raiders also getting busy and making a move to bring in Logan Ash of the River East Royal Knights. Like that move a lot for the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Logan Ash has shown signs of being a really great player in this league so far this year. So yeah, the Raiders, gearing up for a push to make the playoffs coming up here in 2025, and they've already been sellers here, but they've also been bringing in some pieces. So yeah, really big fan of what the Raiders are doing. As for the St. Boniface Riels, really big fan of what they're doing, as well as they also, as you can see here on November 3rd, brought in Alex Van Dynes and Mike Hepner from the Pembina Valley Twisters. So yeah, another big trade I think was the St. James Junior Canucks going out and just solidifying their scoring up front by taking on the rights of Nate Goodbranson, and also adding some experience and some more offensive touch to the back end by adding Caden Stewart, who has over 15 points so far this year in over 20 games played. So yeah, in terms of the winners of trade deadline, my winners would be the St. Boniface Riels. You go out and add Brody Melstead most recently to add even more playmaking to your lineup. A lineup that's added more depth scoring too by going out and getting Alex Van Dynes. And not only has he been huge for this team's depth, but he's been able to play a really big role in this team's middle part of the lineup. Then you look at what they did on the back end, bringing in that experience of Mike Hepner, right? In that trade, along with bringing in Alex Van Dynes. And yeah, you give up some players that have been solid for you, but overall, the value of the players that St. Boniface has brought in my opinion, serves them better now compared to a few years down the line, right? Because this team is trying to go all in this season to try to bring home their first championship. It would be their second championship if the Riels were able to go all the way this year. First one coming back in 2014, 2015. So about a decade ago now, which is pretty crazy to think about. But the second winner that I have for a trade deadline, the St. James Junior Canucks. Look, this is a team that makes a huge move to go out and get Nate Goodbranson, as mentioned, also adding that offensive touch and stability of Caden Stewart on the back end as well. But you add Nate Goodbranson into a mix with a team that already has players like Griffin Height, Ashton Romanek, Tristan Arneson having a great season as well, and of course Rory Neal leading the way in points. You add Nate Goodbranson onto this team, who's over a point per game this season, had 12 goals with the Raiders, and adds another scorer with at least 10 goals this year. The St. James Canucks now have 5 of them. So yeah, I love that move up front for them, as well as getting some more help on the back end by getting Caden Stewart. Finley Titterson was a solid player, but you also get that more experience with a player like Caden Stewart coming in, given that he's a 2003 born player, and given that Finley Titterson is on the younger side of things, right? An 07 born player for the St. James Junior Canucks team at the time. Now he's a Stonewall Jet, of course. But yeah, really like it from the St. James Junior Canucks team, who has been getting better and better as the season goes along. They only add to their group with more skill with Goodbranson and Caden Stewart. And for a team that continues to play better and better as the season goes along, these moves could be very crucial for them come playoff time, going up against what should be their toughest road to a championship yet throughout these past 4 years, as they've won 3 championships in a row, becoming a dynasty last year. But yeah, in terms of the winners, I'd say those are the biggest, in my opinion. For the Stonewall Jets, like, this is a team that I think you got to be disappointed still that players like Brody Melstead, players like Nate Goodbranson didn't want to report to Stonewall. But out of that, you're still able to get some value. Now, maybe you don't win these trades now, but down the line, this team now has more youth in its arsenal. If we take a look, just trying to find it again. But yeah, I mean, taking a look at the players that they ended up dealing away, right? Like, you end up giving away Nate Goodbranson in the end, Brody Melstead, because they obviously didn't want to come in to Stonewall and play for them. Just trying to pull up the moves here again. But yeah, like, this is a team that, of course, lost players like Cole Kennedy, Jack Darrett, and Mason Larveld, Brandon Burak, and Campbell Epp. They lose all those players, of course, in exchange for the rights of Nate Goodbranson, Brody Melstead, and Logan Clark. Of course, things kind of hit the fan for Stonewall, and they're forced to pivot. And yeah, overall, like, the talent you bring in, there's still... Of course, it remains to be seen if this talent is going to be able to, come through and be better than the players that they brought in initially. But I like the idea of it for this Stonewall Jets team. They also traded the playing rights of Riel Chartrand to the Pembina Valley Twisters for guys like Noah Slobosian, as well as Jackson Filion. So yeah, this team... not going out and getting any 03 born players, staying on the younger side of things, having talent to bring into next year's team and for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I mean, this group for the Stonewall Jets, talking to Peyton Bateman, they're a very close group with each other from the sounds of it. So all the trades and stuff like that, great to know that it hasn't really rocked this group's confidence. And yeah, given that Stonewall has been fighting to make it back to the playoffs, haven't made it since 2021, or before the pandemic, have missed out since 2021, 2022, and for the past few years after that. I think for the Stonewall Jets, making these moves, kind of looking ahead to the future, even though they were kind of forced to, while also still keeping that core intact. I think that comes out as... maybe not a win for them, but at least in situation that they were able to salvage. So, yeah, trade deadline hits tomorrow. Will be interesting to see if any more trades come through. Wondering if that trade made by the Jets to the Riels will be the final one, as well as that River East trade that they made with the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Yeah, be sure to check out the MMJHL's website, mmjhl.ca, for more info on all trades under the news section. Also, shout out to the Raiders. You could make an argument that this team comes away as a winner potentially during the trade deadline. A team that was looking like they were going to be huge sellers, but has been able to bring in some pretty good talent at that. Most recently, Logan Ash. This is a team that has no threes on their squad anymore. And a team that is on the younger side of things now, and a team that looks like they have, new type of energy from the last time we saw them. So the Raiders getting younger, giving away some key players, but benefiting and bringing in players like Zach Enerson as well from the Charleswood Hawks, who's been big time. Logan Ash should only make this lineup better once he comes in to a Raiders team that's pushing, of course, to solidify their spot in the playoffs moving forward this season, as well as many of the other teams in the MMJHL fighting for a playoff spot right now. Check out the full news of all the trades happening on mmjhl.ca, as mentioned under their news section. We'll have a full breakdown of trade deadline, all the moves, the total moves that were made once again next week and during our MMJHL broadcast this weekend for all 3 of our games. But we're going to hit it with one last transition here, and I'll be back with some final words on this edition of the MMJHL podcast on G-Show Productions. Well, you made it to the end here of the MMJHL podcast on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. I've been your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth. Special thanks to Peyton Bateman as well as Dillon Smith for coming on and being the guest in this week's edition of the show. Next episode comes out next Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time for episode 16, season 2. The details will be posted on our website at gshow.ca as well as on our social media pages coming up next week. If you did enjoy this edition of the MMJHL podcast and are interested in all the other content that we post here, consider leaving a subscription here. Subscribe to us and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads of episodes like this, and as mentioned, all of our other content here on the network. Special thanks to Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Terrico Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for sponsoring another edition of the MMJHL podcast. MMJHL Game Day goes live tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time, puck drop at Stonewall between the Jets and the Transcona Railer Express. Can't wait to have a call of that one, as well as Twins at Charleswood, the Hawks facing off against Fort Garry tomorrow at Eric Coy, and our Sunday matchup to conclude our week's broadcast schedule at Seven Oaks, as the Raiders will be hosting the St. Vital Junior Victorias on Sunday afternoon. But until then, folks, I hope you enjoy all the great hockey coming your way this week. Stay safe out there and stay warm, as it's pretty darn cold out there now if you are living in Manitoba specifically. But until next time, folks, I've been your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth, giving you the peace out and waving so long until 7 days from now, everybody. We'll catch you again. Take care.